My husband left me standing in our driveway with divorce papers while his girlfriend laughed from his BMW. He thought he'd taken everything, but 3 days later, when that lottery ticket hit $500 million, I walked into his office and watched his whole world crumble. Before I tell you how I took back everything he tried to steal, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Because this story has more twists than a roller coaster, and trust me, you don't want to miss a single second of how karma delivered the ultimate payback. My name is Nicole, and if you had asked me a year ago where I'd be today, I would have painted you a picture of suburban bliss. A nice house with a 2-car garage, annual vacations to Miami, and a husband who kissed me goodbye every morning before work. I had it all figured out, or at least that's what I told myself every time that little voice in my head whispered that something wasn't right. I'm a nurse. I work 12-hour shifts at County General, and I love what I do. There's something about helping people on their worst days that makes you feel connected to humanity, you know? I've been doing it for 10 years and I'm good at it. My husband Brandon, he's a real estate developer. At least that's what he called himself. He flipped houses, made decent money, drove a car that cost more than my student loans, and always had an opinion about everything. We met in college. I was studying nursing, he was in business school, and we were both broke and ambitious. He used to bring me coffee during my study sessions, and I'd quiz him on his presentations. We built something together, or so I thought. 8 years of marriage, 8 years of believing we were a team, 8 years of me being completely blind to who he really was. About 6 months ago, things started changing. Little things at first. Brandon started going to the gym at 5 in the morning. He bought new cologne, expensive stuff that came in a black bottle and smelled like he was trying too hard. His phone became an extension of his hand, and he'd tilt the screen away whenever I walked into the room. When I'd ask him about his day, he'd give me one-word answers and then disappear into his home office. I'm not naive. I know what cheating looks like. I'd seen it destroy my parents' marriage when I was 16, but I didn't want to believe it. I kept making excuses. He's stressed about work. He's going through a midlife crisis. He needs space. All those things women tell themselves when they know the truth but aren't ready to face it. Now, let me tell you about our Friday night tradition. Every Friday for the past 5 years, Brandon and I would stop at the corner store on Maple Street and buy lottery tickets. It was our thing. We'd each pick our own numbers, and then we'd grab Chinese takeout and spend the evening watching movies. It wasn't much, but it was ours. About a month before everything fell apart, Brandon stopped going with me. He'd say he was too tired, or he had work to finish, or the lottery was a waste of money anyway. But I kept going. Every Friday night, I'd stop at that corner store, buy my tickets, and stuff them in my purse. It was habit by then, muscle memory. The day my marriage ended started like any other Tuesday. I picked up an extra shift at the hospital because one of my co-workers called in sick. I finished early, around 3 in the afternoon, and decided to surprise Brandon at home. Maybe we could talk, maybe we could fix whatever was broken between us. I pulled into our driveway and noticed his car was there, which was strange because he usually worked until 6. I walked into our house, and the first thing I noticed was the perfume. It wasn't mine. It was floral and heavy, the kind of scent that announces itself before the person wearing it enters the room. My heart started pounding. I checked the living room, the kitchen, and then I heard his laugh coming from upstairs. That laugh he used to save for me. I didn't go upstairs. I couldn't. Instead, I went to our home office and opened the laptop we shared. The browser history told me everything I needed to know. Messages to someone named Lauren Martinez, hundreds of them, dinner reservations, hotel bookings. He'd even searched for apartments in the downtown area. He was planning a whole new life, and I wasn't in it. I sat in that office for 2 hours, just reading. Each message was a knife to my chest. He told her I was boring, that I'd let myself go, that he deserved someone who excited him. This woman, Lauren, she worked in his office. She was 26 years old, fresh out of college, and apparently everything I wasn't. I decided to see for myself. The next evening, I told Brandon I had a late shift. Instead, I followed him to Marcello's, this upscale Italian restaurant downtown. I sat in my car across the street and watched them through the window. She was beautiful, I'll give her that. Long dark hair, perfect makeup, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. And Brandon, my husband, was looking at her the way he used to look at me 10 years ago. I watched him reach across the table and hold her hand. I watched him pay the bill with our joint credit card, and then I watched them walk to the parking lot, and he kissed her like they were the only two people in the world. I drove home crying so hard I had to pull over twice because I couldn't see the road. The next day, Brandon came home with a lawyer, just walked right in at noon while I was folding laundry and said we needed to talk. The lawyer, this smug guy in a grey suit, placed a stack of papers on our kitchen table. Divorce papers, already filled out, already filed. Brandon had dated our separation to 2 weeks prior, which was a lie, but there it was in black and white. "I deserve to be happy, Nicole," he said, like he was the victim in all this. "We've grown apart. This marriage isn't working anymore. I need you to sign these papers today." I looked at him, really looked at him, and realized I was staring at a stranger. The man I married wouldn't have done this. But that man was gone, if he ever existed at all. And then I saw her, Lauren, sitting in Brandon's BMW in our driveway, checking her makeup in the visor mirror like she owned the place, like she'd already moved into my life. I signed those papers, not because I wanted to, but because I was tired of fighting for someone who didn't want to be fought for. The lawyer collected the documents, and Brandon had the audacity to look relieved. He said he'd come back for his things over the weekend, and then he left. Just like that. 8 years ended in 20 minutes at my kitchen table. That weekend was a blur. Brandon came with Lauren and a U-Haul. They took the new couch, the flat-screen TV, the king-size bed we'd bought on credit, the expensive coffee maker, all of it. He left me with the old furniture from his bachelor pad, a pile of bills, and a mortgage I couldn't afford on my own. I called my sister Denise, and she came over with wine and tissues. I spent 3 days on her couch, crying and wondering how my life had fallen apart so fast. On the 4th day, I went back to my house to start picking up the pieces. I was cleaning out my purse, throwing away old receipts and gum wrappers when I found them. A stack of lottery tickets, maybe 15 or 20 of them, rubber-banded together. I'd forgotten all about them. My Friday night ritual that nobody cared about anymore. I was about to toss them in the trash when Denise grabbed my hand. "Girl, at least check them first," she said. "You never know." So I pulled out my phone and went to the lottery website. The jackpot had hit the news that morning. Some lucky person in our city had won $500 million. $500 million, the kind of money that changes bloodlines. I started checking the tickets one by one, matching the numbers on the screen. The first 5 tickets were losers. So were the next 5. I was down to 3 tickets when my hands started shaking. The ticket I bought on Friday, September 22nd. The Friday after Brandon stopped coming with me, I checked the first number, match, second number, match, third number, match. I couldn't breathe. 4th number, match, 5th number, match. And then the 6th number, the Powerball, match, all 6 numbers, $500 million. I checked it again, and again, and again. 5 times I checked those numbers, convinced I was reading it wrong or the website was broken, but it was real. I had the winning ticket in my hand, and the date stamp on the back proved I bought it 3 days after Brandon walked out on me. 3 days after he filed for divorce, 3 days into our legal separation. Denise screamed so loud my neighbors probably thought someone was being murdered. We were jumping and crying and laughing like maniacs. But then reality hit me. Brandon, if he found out, he'd try to take it. He'd already proven he'd take everything else. So I made a decision right there. I told Denise she couldn't tell anyone, not our mother, not her husband, not her best friend. No one. This was going to be our secret until I figured out my next move. Monday morning, I was sitting in the office of Catherine Walsh, the best family attorney in the city. I'd liquidated my savings account to afford her retainer, but it was worth every penny. I laid everything out for her. The timeline, the divorce papers, the separation date Brandon had documented, and the lottery ticket. Catherine listened, made notes, and then she smiled. It was the kind of smile a chess player gives when they see checkmate 3 moves ahead. "Nicole," she said, "that ticket is entirely yours. Your husband filed the divorce papers himself and documented your separation as beginning 2 weeks before you bought this ticket. In his attempt to expedite the divorce, he legally established that you were separated when you purchased it. He has no claim to it whatsoever." I could have kissed that woman. Brandon's greed and impatience had built a legal wall between him and my winnings. His own filing protected me, but of course Brandon had to make it messy. 2 days after the news broke about a local lottery winner, my phone started blowing up. Brandon called me 17 times in 1 hour. He showed up at my house banging on the door. When I finally answered, he was sweating and desperate, nothing like the cool, collected man who'd served me divorce papers. "Nicole, was it one of our tickets?" he asked. "Did you win?" "Because if you did, that's marital property. That's half mine. We bought those tickets together." I almost laughed. We hadn't bought tickets together in over a month, but the truth didn't matter to him. He'd already spent the money in his head. I told him I didn't know what he was talking about and closed the door in his face. But Brandon didn't stop. He hired his own lawyer, some bulldog attorney who sent me threatening letters claiming I was hiding marital assets. Brandon started posting on social media about how his ex-wife was trying to steal from him. Lauren posted pictures of houses they were looking at, cars they wanted to buy, all funded by money they didn't have. They started spending like I'd already handed them a check. Brandon bought a new Rolex on credit. Lauren quit her job. They were living in a fantasy world, and I was about to pop that bubble. My attorney Catherine worked quickly. We gathered evidence of Brandon's adultery, the text messages, the hotel receipts, the credit card statements showing expensive dinners and gifts for Lauren. We documented how he'd hidden assets during our marriage, opened a separate bank account I didn't know about, and forged my signature on a loan document. We built a case so airtight that his attorney advised him to drop it. But Brandon's ego wouldn't let him. He demanded a hearing. He wanted his day in court. I decided to handle this my own way first. I got dressed in my best outfit, the navy blue suit I wore to job interviews, and I drove to Brandon's office. I walked past the receptionist, rode the elevator to the 3rd floor, and walked right into his office without knocking. He was sitting at his desk, and Lauren was perched on the edge of it, probably planning their imaginary vacation to Bali. His boss was there too, and 3 of his co-workers. Perfect. I placed my purse on Brandon's desk, reached inside, and pulled out the winning lottery ticket. I held it up so everyone could see it. The room went silent. You could hear the air conditioning humming. "This," I said, my voice steady and clear, "is the winning lottery ticket. $500 million. I bought it with my own money, from my own paycheck, 3 days after you abandoned me. 3 days after you filed for divorce and documented our separation. This ticket is mine, all mine, and you will never see a single penny of it." Brandon's face went white, actually white, like all the blood had drained straight to his feet. Lauren started sputtering something about how that wasn't fair, how they deserved it, her voice getting higher and more shrill with every word. She looked at Brandon like he'd promised her something he couldn't deliver, which I guess he had. "You can't do this," Brandon stammered. "We'll sue you." "That's our ticket. We always bought tickets together." I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Your lawyer already tried. My lawyer is better. See you never, Brandon." His boss just stared, taking in the whole scene. Security was called because Lauren wouldn't stop screaming. I walked out of that building with my head high, and I never looked back. The court hearing was almost anticlimactic. Catherine presented our evidence, the timeline, the adultery, the financial abuse. Brandon's lawyer had nothing. The judge ruled in my favor on every single point. $0 to Brandon, not 1 cent. The lottery winnings were declared my sole property. Brandon's lawsuit was dismissed with prejudice, meaning he could never file it again. And just for good measure, the judge ordered him to pay my legal fees, $30,000. The aftermath was better than I could have imagined. Lauren left Brandon the same day the court ruling came down. She'd already lined up her next target, some guy with an actual trust fund. Brandon's boss, who witnessed my office visit, passed him over for a promotion he'd been promised. Turns out trying to steal your ex-wife's lottery winnings isn't a good look professionally. Brandon had to sell his BMW to pay his legal bills. He moved back in with his parents at 35 years old. And every mutual friend we had? They stopped returning his calls after the truth came out. As for me, I finally got to breathe. I claimed my winnings through a trust to protect my privacy. After taxes, I walked away with about $280 million. The first thing I did was pay off my mother's medical debt. She'd been struggling with bills from her cancer treatment for 3 years, and I wiped it all out in one payment. The second thing I did was start a scholarship fund for nursing students at my old college. I know how hard it is to work full-time and go to school, and I wanted to help. I bought myself a beautiful house, nothing too flashy, just a place that feels like home. I still work at the hospital 2 days a week because I love what I do, and money doesn't change that. I travel when I want. I help my sister with her kids' college funds. I donate to causes I care about. And most importantly, I found peace, real peace. The kind that comes from knowing your worth isn't tied to someone else's opinion of you. Looking back, I can see all the red flags I ignored. The way Brandon always made me feel like I should be grateful he chose me. How he'd criticize my appearance and then say he was joking. The way he controlled our finances and made me feel guilty for spending money on myself. I ignored all of it because I wanted to believe in the fairy tale. But fairy tales aren't real, and sometimes the person you love most is the one who hurts you deepest. This experience taught me that financial independence isn't just smart, it's necessary. It taught me that karma is real, even if it takes its sweet time showing up. And it taught me that sometimes the trash takes itself out, you just have to let it go. Brandon thought he was upgrading when he left me for Lauren. He thought he was going to be rich when he heard about the lottery winner. He thought he could bully me into giving him what wasn't his. He thought wrong on every single count. The universe has a timing we don't always understand. If Brandon hadn't left me when he did, that ticket would have been marital property. His greed and his impatience to start his new life gave me the gift of a new life too. A better one. One where I don't have to apologize for existing or shrink myself to make someone else comfortable. One where I'm enough, exactly as I am. If this story taught you that karma is real and timing is everything, smash that like button right now. Subscribe because I share real stories about real people who found their strength when life tried to break them. Drop a comment telling me, have you ever had a moment where everything fell apart but actually fell into place? And share this with someone who needs to remember that betrayal might break your heart, but it won't break your spirit. The best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living your best life while they watch from the sidelines. Now go out there and remember, you are worth more than anyone who makes you question your worth.